What's going on YouTube? Bacon here bringing another video. This one's going to be my VPL Finals match for Season 3. We're going up against Tyler and the Valencia Volcaronas. So Tyler and I have played twice in League, both in Season 1 and in Season 2. Both regular season matches. He won the first one pretty close. I won the second one very close. Basically came down to a 50-50 at the end of the game. I expect kind of no different here. Matchup is pretty 50-50 in my opinion as far as Pokemon go, and I consider Tyler and I to be in basically the same level of skill for Draft League, so definitely a very tough match here for us. Tyler's consistently been one of the 3 best players in the league. Made finals Season 1, ended up losing. Season 2, I believe he was eliminated in semifinals by Finn, who we played in the finals match there, and then of course he's made it back to finals once again. So without further ado, let's just get right into the matchup. Tyler's team is Landorus, Therian, Goodra, Galvantula, Snorlax, Noivern, Tangela, Mega Houndoom, Jirachi, Buzzwole, Slowbro, and Alolan Golem. So for the most part, Buzzwole, Jirachi, and Lando T were all absolutes in my mind. Like, they just had way too good of matchups versus me, and you don't not you have to bring your ground type when you're facing a Tapu Koko, in my opinion, or at least some kind of electric immunity to stop it from just volt switching all over your face. So those 3 were absolute must brings in my opinion. I've noticed he really likes Noivern, and it also does outspeed my Greninja by 1 point, which I have brought to every match this season. It also has pretty good coverage to hit my entire team. It can run something like Draco, Flamethrower, Hurricane, and U-Turn, and basically be good. Actually, it might not even need Hurricane that much. I mean, I guess it hits Hitmonlee, but yeah, like that's pretty much all it needs to hit my team really hard, and obviously its speed tier is very problematic for me. So not too surprised that that thing did end up showing. And then after that, he had a couple options. Like, there was a thought in my mind that he should really bring Thick Fat Snorlax to deal with Kyurem, to deal with Mega Abomasnow, and to deal with Alolan Marowak. I don't know if he would have checked that Alolan Marowak does get low kick for it, which I am carrying. But yeah, I thought Thick Fat Snorlax had good potential to come this match. Maybe like a curse set. Obviously can't run the berry, so he'd have to run leftovers. But like Curse, Body Slam, Crunch, or Facade Crunch, I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Rest, I don't know. But like Thick Fat Snorlax I thought made a good bit of sense versus me. Also options were definitely not Slowbro, definitely not Alolan Golem, and definitely not Tangela. I felt like none of those made sense versus me. So then really all he's got left there is Goodra, Galvantula, and Mega Houndoom for actual options to bring to this match. Goodra is this match. Like, its Spadef Bulk allows it to eat a hit or 2 from Tapu Koko and Greninja, but it does not appreciate Ice Beams and Dazzling Gleams and all that kind of stuff. And I've got Kyurem Black, so I feel like Goodra was an this match. Like, it's hard for me to switch into, but it's hard for him to get in on a switch is the problem. So I felt like that was not quite as likely. Galvantula, Snorlax, and Mega Houndoom I thought were all very possible for that last. So those 3 I thought were like 2 of those were going to be the last 2 Pokemon on his team. Galvantula makes a lot of sense to pair with Mega Houndoom, but if you went the Snorlax route, I feel like you'd bring Mega Houndoom because Webs wouldn't really help him too much at that point anyways. And you can see he did end up going with the latter option of going with Galvantula and Mega Houndoom. So that was kind of the matchup there. Buzzwole, a huge threat. Jirachi's probably defensive with Stealth Rocks. Lando's probably got Defog, but could pretty much run anything after that. Galvantula's almost definitely got Sticky Webs, and Noivern is probably Frisk, because he loves to lead Noivern and frisk somebody's item to figure out what they're doing. So that was a little bit more than I wanted to go into before going into my team builder, but that's fine. We'll get right into it here. I've got Marowak coming into maybe its 3rd or 4th game of the season. I really didn't use it too much this season just because I didn't have a very reliable Trick Room setter. But in this matchup, it doesn't need Trick Room to be effective. I've got Lightning Rod, Shadow Bone, Flare Blitz, Low Kick, and Stealth Rocks. I can get this thing in on Galvantula. I can get this thing on Jirachi and just start pounding stuff. I can even get this thing in directly on Snorlax unless he wildly predicts me and goes for Crunch, which I still live. And then I should outspeed him on the following turn. And Oko him with Low Kick, or if he curses, Low Kick's still doing something like 65% min to standard Curse Lax after he goes +1, so a lot of damage coming out from Marowak. He has no way to switch in reliably to this Pokemon. Like, if he predicts me to go for a fire move, he can get into his Mega Houndoom prior to Mega Evolving, but that's risky business, especially because even Shadow Bone's gonna whack that thing for over half, I believe. So he really has no great switch-ins to this Pokemon for sure. So it's basically here to chunk his team and potentially get up Stealth Rocks on something like Jirachi or on Galvantula. Next up here we got Frogchamp the Greninja, probably the only Pokemon in VPL season, in VPL League history, to make it to every single game in a season, finals included. So 13 games for Greninja this season, different set for every one of them. This time running a similar set to something I've run in the past, which is just Focus Sash Lead Greninja, with Toxic Spikes, Dark Pulse, Scald, and Ice Beam. We got a few decent lead options versus him, but Greninja is probably the main one just because it threatens most of his team, or at least most of the stuff I expected him to bring, and because of my Focus Sash I can live and deliver a hit back to pretty much whatever he wants to do. Dark Pulse, Scald, and Ice Beam are just good coverage for his entire team. Ice Beam specifically for like Lando and Noivern, also hits Goodra. Scald just can snag burns on things like a potential Snorlax switch in if he opted to go that route. The Snorlax is a pretty solid switch into Greninja, especially because I'm not carrying Low Kick. And then Dark Pulse is specifically for the Jirachi, also hits Slowbro as well, even though I think Slowbro had absolutely a terrible matchup versus me. But yeah, Toxic Spikes are just really nice to wear down his team. Things like Tangela, if you happen to bring that, Goodra, Snorlax, Buzzwole, all really do not appreciate the Toxic Spikes being up. Even Mega Houndoom doesn't appreciate Toxic Spikes very much, especially if he's running like a Nasty Plot set. So yeah, Toxic Spikes are just really nice to wear a team down, mainly here for the Buzzwole, the Toxic Spikes, because Sub-Roost Buzzwole is a huge threat, because all he really needs versus me is Drain Punch and Earthquake. That's really all he needs for coverage versus me, which gives him a lot of very dangerous flexibility that I did not want him to be kicking around with. So if that thing's Sub-Roost, I need to get a Poison on it, because otherwise it's actually going to wall a good bit of my team. It's a huge threat Buzzwole, as usual. Next up we got Wampa the Mega Abomasnow, carrying of course Abomasnight, running Soundproof as opposed to Snow Warning prior to Mega Evolving. This way I can sit in on Galvantula and he basically can't touch me. Don't anticipate that he would run HP Fire on his Galvantula, and obviously Soundproof blocks Bug Buzz, so he basically can't do anything to me, and I can sub in regular right in his face. Got Sub Focus Punch, Ice Shard, and Leech Seed. Maybe a little bit too scared of the Snorlax here, but Focus Punch I felt like was really nice if he did bring Thick Fat Snorlax and try to switch into that thing on my Mega Abomasnow. As I substitute, then Focus Punch him right in the face on the following turn. It should OHKO if he doesn't go for Curse, and even if he does go for Curse, it's still going to do a ton of damage, and I'll still be behind a substitute. So that's kind of the idea there. Ice Shard is great priority for like a setup variant of Lando or for Noivern. It can also help pick off some weakened things later in the game, but those are the two main threats that it can deal with. And then Leech Seed is just nice to kind of ease my switch-ins to some of my other Pokemon. Obviously I brought a very offensive team to this finals match, and Leech Seed is going to be really nice, especially on things like Mega Houndoom. Like if that thing switches in hard on Mega Abomasnow predicting an ice move, if I go for Leech Seed, I can at least kind of ease a switch in into something else that wouldn't normally be a switch in, because I have a lot of fragile Pokemon here that even though they might resist either his Dual Stab or one or two of his Dual Stab, really don't appreciate switching into Mega Houndoom. So Leech Seed will help ease switch-ins to things like Greninja if I predict him to go for a fire move, or into Koko if I predict him to go for a dark move, or Minior fire move. Like, I've got switch-ins in terms of typing, but just not in terms of bulk for Mega Houndoom. So Leech Seed helps network that together a little bit. Next up here is Tapu Koko. We're running Sugar Berry Tapu Koko with Volt Switch, Hidden Power Ice, Thunderbolt, and Dazzling Gleam. Could have opted to run a Calm Mindset just for a little bit more breaking power. This does make Spadef Jirachi a little bit more of a problem for me, as I noticed in my prep matches, but I felt like Volt Switch was just too good to pass up versus team. His only electric immunity is the Landorus, which obviously doesn't appreciate an HP Ice, and unless he's running Z Ground, will not knock me out from full, and even if he is running Z Ground, I at least still get the HP Ice damage off on it. And severely chipping or even removing the Landorus early in the match with Tapu Koko would be really, really nice for me, so I can Volt Switch around freely later on, and he wouldn't have the Intimidate available for my Minior, or for my Marowak, or for my Abomasnow. So all in all, I think both sets had merit here, but I think just kind of 4 attacks Koko made a little bit more sense here with the Sugar Berry. Sugar Berry will also nerf damage from Earthquake coming out of his Buzzwole, which, like I mentioned, he really only needs Earthquake and Drain Punch to hit my whole team. Not super effectively, but hard. Next up here, we've got a Pokemon I've made no bones about hating this season. It's Minior. This is only the second game I brought Minior to, and the first one it was absolutely useless because I brought some kind of weird, bulky pivot set to help deal with Moltres and get up Stealth Rocks for his John. It was just not a good look. There's also some misunderstanding on my part about how Shields Down worked at that time, but I have since read up on my Shields Down knowledge. I know exactly how it works. And I have Ground EMZ Minior here with Power Gem, Earthquake, Shell Smash, and HP Flying, so a little bit more normal on the set in that I am running Shell Smash, but I'm running a special variant just because things like Buzzwole, I would rather have a way to immediately KO if I'm in my Meteor form, or even if I'm in my regular form, or even if I'm in my Meteor form. So HP Flying should whack that thing much harder than an Acrobatics ever would. Plus, Acrobatics relies on me either A, getting up a Shell Smash to clear out a White Herb, or B, getting hit down to a Focus Sash, which is difficult to do when he's got great Rocks potential on his side of the field. So I felt like Ground EMZ just made a lot more sense. With +1 Ground EMZ, I can Z Earthquake the Jirachi, and like, how would you get to +1? Well, if he goes into Lando, like say Lando's already come in earlier in the game, taking an HP Ice from Coco, or taking a whack from my Marrow, and he's just coming in to sack it off to get the Intimidate, I can KO that thing on the following turn with potential Power Gem or Hidden Power Flying. And then he might think, oh, well, he's special, goes out into Jirachi because he should wall special, and then I can Z Earthquake and knock him out. So that's kind of the idea behind the Minior. Obviously, it requires a lot on his end to kind of play into my hands there, but it's definitely something I could potentially see happening. Like, it's not totally unreasonable to think, oh, well, he's shown a special move, and I know it's HP Flying, for example. If he somehow scouts that it's HP Flying, he might think he walls me with his Jirachi, because Minior doesn't really get a lot of great coverage options on the special side, but the Z Earthquake could nuke that thing. Can also hit things like Snorlax pretty hard, can hit Goodra pretty hard if he opted to bring those as special walls. I can kind of help bust through those as well. Definitely some potential for Minior to sweep this match. Obviously a few conditions need to be met, as with every sweep, but definitely very possible for Minior to do. Oh, also I should mention, even without a Shell Smash, Minior can actually be pretty useful. If I can get into my into my regular form, so below half health, I actually naturally outspeed Mega Houndoom and can whack that thing with a Power Gem or Earthquake, depending if I think he's going to go to Jirachi. So I can actually whack that thing and naturally outspeed it. I can naturally outspeed Buzzwole, assuming he's not running Choice Scarf, which is also a viable set versus me. I can even potentially live hits from Noivern and then get my form as he hits me and then whack him with a Power Gem. Things like that are a huge problem for his team. So even non-Shell Smash Minior can still be good here, and it's a nice ground immunity for me on what's otherwise not necessarily a ground weak team, but a couple of Pokemon that really need the ground type switch-ins, like Coco and Marowak. And last up here, we've got a little bit more heat with Eternally Grateful the Claydol. We're running Choice Scarf Claydol this week with Ice Beam, Earth Power, Psychic, and Rapid Spin. Claydol's job is basically to snake a kill. I don't care what it's on, if it's Houndoom, if it's Noivern, if it's Landorus. We're just trying to snake a kill out here. So if he doesn't know that I'm Choice Scarf, say like he hasn't frisked me with his Noivern, Choice Scarf Claydol can probably Ice Beam that thing. Like, you don't predict Choice Scarf Claydol, more than likely. So I think it'd be pretty fair on his end to just say, okay, I'm going to U-turn out on this Claydol, get some chip damage off, see what he wants to do. But Choice Scarf Claydol can just OHKO that thing with Ice Beam, potentially OHKO Lando with Ice Beam, I believe, as well. So I could potentially snake kills on those things. If Houndoom's chipped, I can KO it with Earth Power. It's a decent offensive check as well to Houndoom. And I could potentially KO the Jirachi if he's been chipped down throughout the course of the match. Like, if I hit him with a neutral Earthquake from Minior, he may be in range of an Earth Power, depending on his investment. So that's kind of the idea here from the Claydol. Just basically snake a kill, and also it's my most reliable my most reliable way of clearing hazards in this match. Prankster Defog Klefki didn't make a whole lot of sense with Mega Houndoom running around. He could easily switch into Mega Houndoom and block me, which is not a good look for me because I already don't have many switch-ins to Mega Houndoom. So you could potentially block that. Defog Coco doesn't really make a whole lot of sense if I'm trying to defog Sticky Webs, just because Coco would come in on Sticky Webs and be probably slower than whatever it's trying to defog on. I don't think that was a good look either. Choice Scarf Claydol allows me an option to clear hazards without clearing my own, first of all. And second of all, just kind of a good suicide sack, clear hazards with Rapid Spin type deal if I have to later in the game. Claydol's not vitally important in this match outside of that. So I wouldn't mind sacking it off if it means I'm going to keep webs off the field, or if I can get Stealth Rocks off the field to get my Minior set up, something like that. Definitely makes it worth bringing the Scarf Rapid Spin, even though obviously it's kind of dangerous to be locked into Scarf Rapid Spin. So that's the team, and it's final time, everybody. So he did end up bringing Landorus, Galvantula, Houndoom, Buzzwole, Jirachi, and Noivern, so pretty reasonable brings on his end. Lead matchup, I am 100% certain he's going to lead Noivern. Well, I shouldn't say 100%. If I was 100% certain he was going to lead Noivern, I would lead with Abomasnow. But I'm like 95% certain he's going to lead with Noivern, because on several occasions he's brought Frisk Noivern and led with it to scout out an item. So ideally in that situation I lead Abomasnow, right? But I can't really risk an otherwise kind of reasonable lead, which would be like potential Z-Fly Lando, or like Rock Z-Fly Lando is a potential lead versus me. Jirachi with Stealth Rocks is a potential lead versus me. So I felt like that was probably not the play to lead with Abomasnow here. The Galvantula lead is too obvious for him to make, I think, because it would really bait out things like my Marowak or my Abomasnow. So that's a little dangerous on his end to do. So I don't think he would lead with that, especially because everybody and their mother who brings Focus Sash Galvantula with Sticky Webs, I've done it myself, has just led with it and said, gotta get up Sticky Webs, right? So I think that's a little too obvious thing for Tyler to do here. Noivern is pretty much what I'm expecting him to lead with, but even just looking at his whole team, I think Greninja has the best lead matchup. With the Focus Sash, it beats all of this. Like I can Ice Beam Noivern, I can Ice Beam Lando. Even Galvantula, I can just Scald and see what he wants to do. If he's Choice Scarf, I'll get some good information. Plus, he'll put me into Torrent range if he Thunders me or something down to my Focus Sash, so Scald should whack him afterwards. And he just really doesn't deal well with the Pokemon. If he's Choice Scarf Buzzwole, same deal. I get down into my Torrent range, I can potentially burn that thing. Buzzwole is really the worst thing, quote-unquote, for me to have across my Greninja, but even still, that's not so bad for me. I can scout out what his set's like and potentially snag a burn on a gigantic threat. Additionally, I can potentially get up a Toxic Spike here. So we're just going to get right into the game now. And I do lead with the Greninja as he leads with the Noivern as anticipated. So unfortunate that I didn't make the hard read and go for Abomasnow, but I felt like I mentioned Greninja still had a pretty solid matchup versus his entire team here, and he's going to frisk my Focus Sash. So in my head, I'm like, okay, you've just frisked a Focus Sash. You don't want to lose your Noivern on the first turn. I think you U-turn out here as I get up a Toxic Spike, but he ends up just Boom Bursting me. So he Boom Bursts me down to Focus Sash. Unfortunate. He has Life Orb, and I go for the Toxic Spike. So this is going to be a lot of pausing. Just warning you ahead of time, this is going to be a lot of pausing. So already on the second turn of the game, we have an interesting conundrum. 1, this Noivern could certainly have Defog. 2, it could certainly have Flamethrower. So he either Boom Bursts here again, he Flamethrowers, or he Defogs. I have to pick which one I think he's going to do, because I don't have one Pokemon that can cover all of those options particularly well. So Flamethrower seems like the easiest play for him to make, because I don't really have a good switch in for a Flamethrower right now. Because if I go into Marowak, he can still Draco or Hurricane me. Like, I don't know his set at this point. If I go into Abomasnow and he clicked Flamethrower, my Abomasnow is dead, and that is pretty wasteful, I think, on my end. And I don't want to lose my Greninja, especially because I'm in Torrent range now, so I can be a huge threat to his team, actually, if I can get it, like an offensive check-off on something like Non-Scarf Galvantula, or Jirachi, Lando, Non-Scarf Buzzwole. Like, this Torrent Boosted Scald is actually pretty valuable right now for me to save, as well as the Dark Pulse for something like Jirachi, because, like I mentioned in my team builder, Spit F Jirachi is very problematic for my team, especially now that my Greninja is so weak. So I really want to save my Greninja, but I have to figure out what I think he's going to do. I think the best play overall on my end is going to Claydol. So I'm going to go into Claydol here. What I'm expecting to be either a Flamethrower or Defog more predominantly, but he just goes for Boom Burst once again. So unfortunate that I didn't go hard Abomasnow because I am soundproof, but that was way too balls deep of a read for me to make that he wouldn't just click Flamethrower there. So I'm going to stay in here predicting him to either U-turn out or something, and I'm going to Ice Beam him. And so Scarf Claydol has snaked its kill. Murdered that Noivern, which is great because that thing was a huge threat to my team, so I'm glad it's dead. He's able to freely go out into Jirachi though, knowing that I'm Choice Scarf. I kind of have to switch out here. I can go Greninja here, but I don't want to risk him just U-turning, so I'm going to go out into Marowak instead, as he goes for Stealth Rock. So obviously Stealth Rocks on his end make a lot of sense there because it kills my Greninja. and also whacks a couple of things on my team. But now I get Marowak in for free, and this is the freest Shadow Bone I've ever seen in my life. Like, if he goes Houndoom, he's taking a ton of damage, plus he's taking poison. So Lando is really his best switch in here. Gets the Intimidate off on me, and the Shadow Bone still does over half. So I know he's offensive Lando based on that damage, and I obviously don't see leftovers either. So he could be Choice Scarf, or he could be Z. This is another turn that takes a really long time in real time, just because U-turn is free, but so is Earthquake to some extent. So it's a 50-50 there, whether he clicks U-turn or Earthquake. Claydol comes in, he clicks Earthquake, so I make that prediction correctly. Here I make the wrong prediction and go for Rapid Spin. I could have Ice Beam and removed the Lando, but he makes a really, really good play here. A lot of credit to Tyler for making this play. He goes for Defog. Really nice play on his end, because that Toxic Spike was actually there to stay if he didn't Defog it away, which would have been huge for me in the late game. But great play by Tyler, reading the Rapid Spin. And being able to remove it. Here I make a hard read on a U-turn. I hard read him to U-turn out on me as he goes out into Buzzwole, so that's even better for me because I can just Volt Switch. It does turn out he's Scarf Buzzwole, which is a huge problem for my team, kind of looking at it now. But I am able to get a huge chunk of damage off on this thing with Volt Switch. One more of those should KO him. Obviously I can't live in Earthquake though, so he's going to have to be locked into something else. But since he is locked into Earthquake, I go out into Minior. Here's another pause. So Minior can sweep at this point if he's not Sash Galvantula, potentially. I'm thinking he probably is Focus Sash. He's either Focus Sash or Choice Scarf, right? And he's already shown Choice Scarf Buzzwole, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be Focus Sash Galvantula. But I'm thinking, okay, he should probably sack Lando here to get the Intimidate off, and I can Shell Smash up and potentially start putting in some work with Minior here. So I'm going to Shell Smash up as he goes hard Galvantula. So really nice play by Tyler going to Galvantula. I am certain this thing is Focus Sash at this point, because I feel like he wouldn't risk it there. It's a really good play by Tyler getting his Galvantula. Electric Terrain's up. I don't have a Focus Sash myself. I have to fear an electric move here. I'm going to pause it again. So here's another pause. It turns out this Galvantula had Bug Buzz, Protect, Sticky Web, and Sucker Punch, i.e. walled by Minior. So I actually could have won the game from there still if I had just power gemmed him a couple times. Unfortunately, of course, I'm not gonna hold myself accountable for that one, right? Like, it's totally unreasonable for me to sit here and think this is definitely Focus Sash Galvantula and more than likely has an electric move, and then be like, I'm gonna stay in with Minior anyways just to knock him down to his Focus Sash. Like, that's a play that makes no sense, and I don't blame myself for switching out there. It's just unfortunate. As Tyler made another kind of amazing play here going to Galvantula and bluffing that he had an electric move when he did not, and just going for Sticky Webs. Like, he just clicked Sticky Webs on a potential Minior sweep, and it worked out. So he reveals the Protect too. I wasn't even expecting him to have Protect here. Like, okay, worst case scenario, he stays in and I break his Focus Sash, but now he gets to see that I'm Rapid Spinning and keep his Focus Sash intact, which is really bad for me, because I still have to Rapid Spin here because I can't allow these Sticky Webs to stay up, or I basically get raked across the coals by Mega Houndoom, and he's going to be able to freely get out into his Jirachi. I personally think he probably should have gone Mega Houndoom there because it puts a ton of pressure on my team, but Jirachi's a fine play either way because he can get Stealth Rocks back up, or he can potentially U-turn. Here I believe I'm going to make a hard U-turn read because he did Stealth Rock last time and that obviously didn't work out so well for him. So I'm going to make a hard U-turn read and go into Minior here. I don't think he'd Iron Head here. I think you either U-turn or Stealth Rock, as he does go for the U-turn. So the idea is Minior puts me in kind of not the worst position versus team here, right? I have a couple options about what I could do here. He does go out into Houndoom, which I think is kind of an odd play, but at the same time I'm certain that means this Houndoom has Sucker Punch. Here I make... I really won't call anything I did in this game a misplay, but I do sack Claydol here, which is a little unfortunate because now if he gets rocks or webs up, they're here to stay, which is very problematic for me. So I'm gonna go out into my Greninja here, and I have to scout for Sucker Punch, right? I'm pretty sure he has it since he went this thing on the Minior, but I have to scout for Sucker Punch. In reality, I could click Toxic Spikes here, thinking... Hold on, let me pause again. I could click Toxic Spikes here thinking that he's going to Sucker Punch, right? And get the Toxic Spike up for free. But then I repeat the same play next turn. I repeat a more difficult play next turn, actually, because then it's a 50-50 whether he's going to Sucker Punch or not. Here, he was absolutely either going to Sucker Punch or he was going to switch out into something. Maybe, I don't know, sack off his Lando or sack off his Galvantula. Not sure. But he was either clicking Sucker Punch or he was switching out. He was not doing anything else that turn. So, because like from my end, he hasn't shown Sucker Punch, why should I go into Greninja and then switch out, right? So from his end, he either Sucker Punches or he switches out. So I have to scout for the Sucker Punch here just to make sure he has it. Like I said, because he went Houndoom on a Minior, I'm pretty sure he does. But he goes out into Houndoom here, or he goes out for the Sucker Punch here as I go into my Tapu Koko. So I make the right play there and get on my Koko. I'm feeling like I have to play a little more aggressively this game if I'm going to get back into it because I'm a little behind right now. I'm going to Volt Switch. Obviously, I can't kill this Houndoom from full, and I basically have to sack off something else to Houndoom. But I am going to predict him to go for the Fire move and get in my Minior as he unfortunately crits me. So this crit is mostly unfortunate because I'm guaranteed in range of Sucker Punch now, but also unfortunate because I can't come in on Stealth Rocks anymore. Like I mentioned in my team builder, this version of Minior is actually very useful to me because it does outspeed his whole team naturally. Obviously not Scarf Buzzwole. Oh, wait, I gotta pause it again. So it is unfortunate that he gets the crit on me, but, you know, such is life. Here's another play that took a long time in real time because I know he has Sucker Punch, right? He knows I know that he has Sucker Punch. So what does he do here? If he Sucker Punches again and I get at my Tapu Koko, that's another free Volt Switch for me. If he goes into Lando, I already know it's not Choice Scarf, so I could HP Ice it the following turn. So basically he would have to lose a Pokemon to Tapu Koko if he went for Sucker Punch and I went into Tapu Koko. So I'm predicting him to make the more aggressive read and try to hit my Tapu Koko on Switch in. So instead, I just stay in and Power Gem him in the face, and it works out for me. So I make the correct play there. Another kind of more aggressive play on my end, but like I mentioned, I need to make some aggressive plays to get back in this game. I'm still behind the 8-ball, even after having killed that Houndoom. So out comes the Buzzwole. The threat is in. I don't think you ever Earthquake here. I think you Leech Life or you Drain Punch. That's a free Marowak, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe Ice Punch. All those things, free Marowak. He does go for Drain Punch, and here I'm actually not sure. I don't think I ever went back and calced it, but now I'm sitting here like, okay, what does he do here? Shadow Bone's pretty free once again, but I don't know if it'll actually knock out Buzzwole, and I want to make sure I knock out Buzzwole if for some reason he decides to sack it. Kind of a bad play on my end. For whatever reason, I made the Flare Blitz play, but it ended up working out because I burned the Galvantula. So that's majorly unlucky for him as well, because with Webs up, Landorus is a huge threat to my team outside of my my Minior and my Abomasnow. Minior is in range of Stealth Rocks at this point, so that's another huge problem. But I'm just going to whack that thing as he goes out into the Lando. Lucky me getting the Flare Blitz burn for sure, so he can get Webs back up. But I'm just going to go out into Abomasnow, basically to sack it off here, as he makes a real hard read and goes for Superpower. So that was... This game is insane, man. This is one of the best games I've ever played. Probably the best game in draft. One of the best games I've ever played, to be sure. Here I make a huge misplay. I want to sack the Abomasnow, right? So I click Leech Seed, just in case he goes Jirachi, but I Mega Evolved. Mega Evolving was so bad play. Bad play, Mark. I guess if I am going to say I made a misplay, that was it, right? Like, so if I could have not Mega Evolved there, I know he's not Choice Scarf and Landorus doesn't get access to any priority. So if I hadn't Mega Evolved, there would be no Hail, which means Greninja could come in here, get off a Torrent Boosted Scald, and basically KO something. Like if he goes Jirachi, I 2-hit KO that thing. If he goes Buzzwole, that thing's dead, and if I Scald this Landorus, it's dead. So I had a free Greninja here as long as I didn't Mega Evolve, but I did. So now I have a problem. I have to go Tapu Koko here to revenge kill this Landorus. My other option is to go out into Minior, which is also not a bad option. Like I could Power Gem pretty freely here, but I don't actually think it would knock out Landorus from this range. And then he'd knock out my Minior. So I kind of have to go out into my Tapu Koko here, and I have to click HP Ice. So obviously he's got the option to save the Landorus, but I really don't think it's worth him saving. His main win condition at this point is Scarf Buzzwole. And risking his Jirachi is not the play either, because he needs Stealth Rocks back up to get rid of my Greninja and to get rid of my Minior, especially if I have Water Shuriken on my Greninja. So I'm going to HP Ice the Landorus, as Hail, of course, is still up, unfortunately. So I have to Volt Switch out on the incoming Jirachi. He kind of has to go Jirachi, in my opinion, because you can't risk another 50-50 type play with Buzzwole and getting it wrong. So he's at full health with Jirachi. He can pretty freely get up Stealth Rocks here, but he could also U-turn. So another pause here, because this is one of the more important plays down the stretch as well. Volt Switch is free on my end, of course, so like I know what I'm clicking. The question is, what do I switch out into? If he U-turns out, I can kind of get away with sacking my Minior here to U-turn, because that would mean he wouldn't have gotten Stealth Rocks up, and my Greninja can still come in on this Jirachi later in the game. It's kind of my main way of killing the Jirachi. Marowak can also do it, but Marowak kind of loses to Buzzwole straight up, and I also am risking flinches against the Jirachi. So I felt like Greninja was still worth saving here on a potential U-turn. And Stealth Rocks are also a fair play on his end, to get rid of my Greninja, to get rid of my Minior, and to basically win the game with Scarf Buzzwole, potentially. So I think, in retrospect, I probably should have gone into Minior here, because I could have Z-grounded on this turn, and at least potentially KO'd this Jirachi. And that would have prevented Buzzwole from locking itself into Earthquake and winning the game, even if he did go for Stealth Rocks here. So I'm going to Volt Switch out, and unfortunately I decide that instead of sacking Minior / potentially getting it in before Rocks, I end up going out into my Marowak. So like, it's easy to see on my end like why I would go out into Marowak there, because it's a free kill if he goes for pretty much anything. But he does go for Stealth Rocks, and this means I lose to Scarf Buzzwole at this point. It doesn't matter what play he makes here, because I don't have Substitute on my Marowak. I lose to Scarf Buzzwole clicking Earthquake. Minior dies to Rocks, Greninja dies to Rocks, and the other two Pokemon die to Earthquake. So he Healing Wishes into his Buzzwole. It really didn't matter what he clicked that turn, to be honest, because I didn't have Substitute. I just had to kind of click Flare Blitz and hope for the best. But he makes the right play, sacks the Jirachi off, and is able to go out into Buzzwole here and clean me up with Earthquake. So really excellent game to Tyler. Very well played. Brought some really nice sets. The Choice Scarf Buzzwole was something I didn't prep enough for, even though I knew it was a possibility. I really thought like a sub-roost variant of Buzzwole was coming, and I over-prepped for that a little bit to some degree. I think there are definitely plays I could have made better during the game, plays that Tyler could have made better during the game, but overall I thought we both played very well, and that was a really fun game. So congratulations to Tyler on winning the league. That makes now 3 different VPL champions. John, myself, and Tyler have all won the league at this point. And I'm really happy for Tyler, because after kind of the heartbreaking loss in Season 1 where he min-rolled with his Entei, and basically just lost to Zygarde from that point, it was just really rough to watch at the time. So really happy for Tyler to pick up the win here, even though of course I would have liked to have won myself. But you know, I'm not at all mad about how I finished this season. Like, this team, I think, is without a doubt the worst team I've ever drafted, and we still managed to make it all the way to finals, so I consider that quite an accomplishment in itself. Next year we'll just have to come back and finish strong in the VPL. Next season will be my last season playing in the VPL, so hopefully we can come away with the W next season. But very good game once again to Tyler. Congratulations, and thank you guys very much for watching throughout the season of the VPL, and be on the lookout for Season 4 coming very soon. Alright, have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.